Welcome back to the deep dive. So, today we have a stack of sources that, at first glance, might look a little niche.
Yeah, that's a good word for it. Usually we're tearing apart, a 20-page academic paper on AI alignment or some huge report.
Right, on supply chains or something.
Yeah.
But today, we are looking at a blog post.
And that, though, a viral one. This isn't some op-ed from a famous CEO or a thread that's blowing up on social media. We're looking at a quiet, very personal entry from a site called kianmea.org.
The specific post is titled Notes on Gardening, Part 781, The Upward Growth of the Singapore Daisy.
Part 781. I mean, that number alone should just stop you in your
It
tracks.
totally stopped me. It implies a history, right? A staggering amount of data. But before we get into the daisies and the dirt, we have to talk about the person writing this.
The person holding the shovel.
Exactly. The author goes by Ang, and
Mhm.
his bio is, well, it's pretty distinct. He calls himself an old software plumber.
Which is such an evocative term. You always hear software engineer, developer. But plumber suggests something else entirely. It's like someone who's down in the depths, in the infrastructure, fixing leaks, connecting pipes.
Making sure the data actually flows.
Yeah, it's the unglamorous but absolutely essential work.
And his tagline adds another layer. He says he spends his nights tinkering with free Libre and open source software, or FLOSS. So for you listening, if you just use apps and don't really think about how they're made, what's the significance of that? FLOSS.
Well, floss isn't just free, as in, $0. It's free as in freedom. Think of it like a recipe.
Okay.
If you buy a cake from a big store, you just get the cake. You don't know what's in it. That's proprietary software. Open source is like getting the recipe card with the cake.
So you can see everything.
You can read it, you can change the ingredients if you want. You can even share your own improved version with your neighbors.
So Ang is a guy who believes in transparency, in looking under the hood.
Exactly. He's part of a culture that values showing your work, documenting everything, and sharing knowledge. And what's so fascinating about this deep dive is that he takes that exact same philosophy, that open source ethos, and applies it to a hanging basket on a balcony.
Okay, so let's look at the source code he's working with. The post is from January 19th, 2026. The subject is the Sphagneticola trilobata,
The Singapore daisy.
a plant with a serious reputation, you were saying.
Oh, a huge reputation. If you talk to botanists or, serious gardeners, the Singapore daisy is often seen as a bit of a villain.
A villain? Why? Is it hard to grow?
It's the complete opposite. It's
Yeah.
often listed as an invasive species. It's a survivor. It is incredibly, incredibly aggressive.
Well, looking at the stats in the post, I think I can see why. Ang notes that this plant produces runners, these long stems that shoot out, and he mentions a growth rate that honestly sounds like a typo.
It is not a typo.
1 meter per week.
1 meter per week.
That's terrifying.
In the plant world, that's basically light speed. I mean, imagine if your lawn grew 1 meter a week. You'd need a combine harvester just to find your front door.
Yeah.
It's a plant that's just designed to conquer territory. It shoots out these runners, they touch soil, they root, and they just keep going. It wants to turn the whole world into a mat of green and yellow.
So Ang has decided to invite this conqueror onto his balcony. He's taken cuttings, and this is where that software plumber mindset really kicks in. He's observing the, quote, initialization of these cuttings,
And he spotted a bug.
or at least something unexpected. He writes, I've noticed that they are not yet creeping sideways, appearing instead to sprout vertically.
So the creeper isn't creeping.
It's standing up.
Right. He's expecting this horizontal expansion, that 1 meter dash. Instead, the cuttings are growing like tiny trees, just straight up.
You know, if I were a casual gardener, I'd probably look at that and think, oh, look, it's growing. I didn't kill it. I wouldn't think twice about the direction.
And that's the difference, right? An engineer has a specification in mind. He knows the hardware specs of the daisy. It should go sideways. If it goes up, that's a deviation.
It's like writing a script to print text left to right, and suddenly it's stacking the letters.
Exactly. You have to ask, why is it doing that?
So Ang offers a hypothesis. He writes, however, it's currently too early to be certain of their habit. I love that word, habit, here. It sounds so technical.
Well, it is a technical term in botany. A plant's habit is its general shape. A pine tree has a conical habit, a vine has a climbing habit. So Ang's hypothesis is that this vertical growth is temporary.
An initialization phase.
Yes, like a computer booting up before it actually runs the main program. The cuttings are short, they're just getting their roots down. He's predicting that in a few weeks, the stems will start to spiral outwards.
He's betting the biological code will eventually execute the run command.
I think so. And it's interesting, he doesn't try to force it, right? He doesn't tie them down or panic. He just observes, too early to be certain. There's a patience there.
That's the plumber again, isn't it?
It has to be. When you're debugging a complex system, you can't just start banging on the pipes. Sometimes you have to watch the flow, wait for the system to stabilize before you can really diagnose it.
So he has a very specific vision for why he wants them to spiral out. This isn't just about covering dirt. What's the use case?
This is the user interface design of his garden. He's evaluating the daisy as a container plant. He wants to put them in hanging baskets or right on the edge of a balcony.
And the goal isn't just a pot of flowers?
No, the aesthetic goal is so vivid. He wants those runners, those 1-meter sprinters, to spill over the edge. He's picturing a cascading curtain of lush green foliage and bright yellow flowers.
A living curtain. That does sound beautiful.
It does, but notice the tension, right? Between the current state, these stubby vertical stems, and that vision. There's a huge gap between reality and the goal.
And he wraps up the post with this really lovely phrase, "This is certainly a transformation worth anticipating."
Worth anticipating. I think that's a key insight here. In the tech world, the world Aang lives in at night, anticipation is usually a bad thing. We want zero latency, instant page loads.
Right. If you have to wait a week for your software to work, it's broken. You just uninstall it.
Precisely. But here he's acknowledging that this biological process, it operates on a different clock. And he doesn't just tolerate the wait, he values it. He's saying the gap between the bug and the feature is where the interesting stuff happens.
It's a lesson in patience, but I want to zoom out. Because if we only talk about the daisy, we're missing the massive context of this whole website.
You mean the sidebar?
The sidebar. We said this was part 781 of his gardening notes, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. I'm looking at the recent posts list for just January 2026.
That's a wall of text.
It really is. We have notes on Haskell programming, that's a coding language, up to part 35. We've got notes on fish keeping, part 175, notes on photography, part 226, notes on dieting, part 113.
It is a staggering amount of output. This is not someone who posts once a month to say, hey, I'm still here. This is a daily, rigorous log.
And the topics. It's this incredible mix of the digital and the biological. So let's break that down. On one hand, you have Haskell. For those of us who aren't software plumbers, what is Haskell?
Haskell is. Well, it's distinct. It's a functional programming language. It's known for being very pure, very mathematical. It's rigid. It deals with immutable data. It's a world of pure logic.
Sure, order.
The epitome of order. It appeals to people who like strict rules and elegant proofs.
Okay, so that's one bucket, pure logic. And then right next to it, in the same month, he's posting about the black-tiered algae.
The nemesis of every single aquarium owner.
And decoding duckweed and tubifex worms.
Which is the complete opposite of Haskell, right?
Yeah.
An aquarium is a messy biological ecosystem. Black-beard algae doesn't care about your logic. It just shows up. Duckweed multiplies exponentially.
Yep.
Tubifex worms, well, they're just wiggling.
So this guy spends his nights in the pristine cathedral of Haskell code, and his days battling algae and waiting for stubborn daisies to grow sideways. It feels like whiplash.
But I think that synthesis is what makes this whole project so special. He treats them exactly the same.
What do you mean by that?
Look at the titles. Notes on Haskell, the operator. Notes on fish keeping, the black-beard algae. He applies the same debugging mindset to the algae as he does to the code. He observes the system, notes the anomalies, tweaks variables, and documents the result.
You're right. He doesn't just say, oh, my tank is dirty. He breaks it down, black-beard algae. He identifies the specific variable.
In fact, in that same list of recent posts, there is literally a Python error log. It says type error, type object is not, and then it cuts off. He logs the computer error, and he logs the plant error.
To the software plumber, a plant growing vertically when it should be horizontal is just a type error in the biological code.
It's all just systems to him. Whether it's the nitrogen cycle in the fish tank, recursion in a Haskell function, or the hormonal signals in a Singapore daisy, they are all complex systems that can be observed, understood, and importantly, learned from.
And boy, does he pay attention. We have to talk about the frequency. We said this post was from January 19, 2026.
Yes.
I'm looking at the archive. By the 19th of the month, do you know how many posts he had written?
57.
57 posts in 19 days. That's 3 posts a day, every single day.
And it's not some burst of manic energy. Look at the yearly archives, 2025. 730 posts.
Yeah.
2024, 732. 2023, 730. It is clockwork. Roughly 60 posts every single month for years on end.
That is just relentless. Most people can't keep a diary for a week. I mean, I've tried journals and they last maybe 3 days.
This goes beyond a diary, I think. This is self-quantification. But unlike the Silicon Valley version, where people track their heart rate to optimize performance, Aang seems to be tracking his learning.
He's open sourcing his own brain.
He really is. And look at the sidebar again. He links to the Tor Project, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, Wikipedia, organizations dedicated to the free flow of information. He's living that value. He's saying, here's what I learned about tubifex swarms today. Here's my failure with the Singapore daisy.
He's showing his work.
He's showing the process. And that is such a critical takeaway for us. In our, social media culture, we generally only see the after photo. We see the lush, cascading balcony with the perfect flowers.
We never see part 781 where the plant looks like a weird stick and the gardener is totally confused.
We filter out the debugging phase because it looks like failure. Aang publishes the debugging phase.
He celebrates it.
And think about how that helps him. By writing it down, by creating note 781, he externalizes the problem. He's not just worrying about the plant, he's analyzing it. He's turning a worry into a data point.
It stops being a failure and starts being an observation. It is too early to be certain. That objectivity is so powerful.
It is. And that balance we talked about between the screen and the soil, I think that's vital for his sustainability. How does he keep this up for years? I think it's because he switches mode.
How so?
Well, software is fast. Frameworks change every 6 months. Code runs in milliseconds. It's ephemeral. You can spend all night building something, and 5 years later, it's obsolete. It's just gone.
True. I have floppy disks with stuff on them I can't even access anymore.
But a European olive tree, a fern, a Singapore daisy, these things connect you to deep time. The biology of that daisy hasn't changed in thousands of years. It doesn't need a firmware update.
All right.
So by anchoring himself in the garden, dealing with physical dirt and sunlight, he creates a counterweight to that digital speed.
So the plant growing 1 meter a week is the biological counterpart to the speed of tech.
Yes, but even that, which is fast for nature, is agonizingly slow for a computer. So he has to slow down. He has to calibrate his brain to plant time.
I love that phrase, calibrating to plant time. It feels like something we all need to do. We're all so hooked on computer time. Instant replies. Instant delivery.
We get annoyed if the microwave takes too long.
Yeah. And when things don't happen instantly, we get frustrated. We abandon the diet because we didn't lose 10 pounds in a week. We quit the hobby because we weren't an expert on day 1.
Aang is on part 175 of fish keeping, and he's still dealing with algae. He hasn't won fish keeping. He's just doing it.
He's maintaining the system.
He's a plumber. A plumber's job is never really done. There's always another pipe to check, another flow to optimize. It's a practice, not a destination. You don't finish a garden. You tend it.
So let's bring this back to you, listening. Maybe you don't care about Haskell. Fair enough. And maybe you kill every houseplant you touch. What's the nugget here that you can actually use?
I think it goes back to that transformation worth anticipating. We are all working on slow projects. Maybe it's a career change or raising a child or learning a difficult skill.
The Singapore daisies of our lives, the things that are supposed to be growing but look like they're stalling out.
Right. And right now, those projects might look like vertical growth. They might look wrong. You might feel like you're putting in all this effort and not seeing the runners shoot out yet.
And the temptation is to say, I broke it, I'm bad at this, I quit.
Aang teaches us to say, it's too early to be certain of the habit.
That is such a powerful reframe. It's too early to be certain.
It is. Instead of panicking, start a log. Write a note. Day 45, still no lateral movement. Hypothesis. Initialization phase continues.
Just observe it, don't judge it yet.
Engage with the anomaly. Be curious about the stalling point. Because if you pay attention to the small, boring details, the part 781s, you stay engaged with the process. You don't check out. And eventually, the biology takes over, the runners appear.
The code compiles.
The code compiles.
Yeah.
But you have to be there to see it. You have to have been watching.
You know, looking at this list one last time, notes on home improvement, notes on typesetting, he really does treat his entire life as a series of open source projects. He is the project manager of his own existence.
And by doing that, he owns it. He isn't a passive consumer of his life. He's the developer. He's the maintainer. And sure, there are bugs, there are type errors and invasive algae and plants that grow the wrong way, but that's not failure.
That's just part of the documentation.
Exactly.
It's a really empowering way to look at the mundane stuff we all deal with every day.
It makes the mundane meaningful. It turns the daily grind into a data set.
So here's the takeaway for you listening right now. We've looked at Aang's garden, his fish tank, his code. We've seen the incredible power of consistency, 3 posts a day, every day, for years.
And the value of bringing that analytical debugging mindset into the messy parts of the real world.
But here's the final thought we want to leave you with. This is something to mull over while you're stuck in traffic or washing the dishes, your own daily maintenance.
In a world that is screaming for hacks and shortcuts, what would happen if you treated your own life like Aang treats his blog?
What if you had a Project 781?
What if you tracked your own slow-moving goals with the same daily rigor as this software plumber? If you just wrote down one small objective observation every day, even when nothing seemed to be happening?
Would you notice the vertical growth before the runners start? Would you spot the pattern right before the breakthrough?
Or would you just appreciate the transformation a little bit more when that curtain finally falls?
Something to think about. Maybe start your own part 1 today. Open a blank document, see what happens. Thanks for diving in with us.
Until the next post.
See you next time.